Takes more than just diet and exercise to have a truly healthy lifestyle. Our next guest has traveled around the world to discover the habits that lead to good health, longevity, but also happiness. And he's using what he's learned around the globe to make things better here in America. Dan Buettner is making over cities right here in the U.S., and he's following a successful transformation of one Minnesota town. And coming off of that, just yesterday, he launched his newest project. This will be in 3 California communities. And Dan joins me now from Los Angeles. So good to see you again. Last month you talked about the results of Alberta Lee, Minnesota, and it's just amazing to see these people experiencing a 50% drop in their health care costs, 20% drop in employee absenteeism in just 1 year of changes that seem pretty simple. And now you're on the ground in California. You're making over Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, and Redondo Beach. Why did you pick these cities, Dan?
Well, they actually sort of pick themselves. We can't be very successful in a place that doesn't want us to come in. These beaches actually have about the same profile as the rest of America. About 60% are overweight or obese. And they have a leadership that works really well together. We were with the mayors yesterday, the superintendent of schools, the head of public health, the Beach County Health District, and they asked us to come in and work with them for the next 3 years to make this a place where not only people live longer, but they have higher levels of well-being, or they're happier.
Yeah, because you'd think that they would be, but you say they have high stress levels in these beach towns, that even though they're, experiencing a lot more sunlight and sun and water than we probably experience in most other parts of the country, they're not necessarily any healthier. What's going on in these towns?
Yeah, well, our partners on this, Healthways and Gallup, actually did a survey of this area, and we were quite shocked to find that they have some of the worst levels of stress, anger, and worry of any other place in America. In fact, they're at the same level of places like Detroit and New Orleans. And we're finding increasingly that your physical health and your overall health are inextricably linked. So part of our intervention includes trying to bring people together socially in a way that they'll connect more, will relieve some of that stress. We're trying to relieve some of the traffic, working with a guy named Dan Burden, who is an expert at making cities built for humans as opposed to built for just car traffic. And we think that's going to have an impact on not only obesity, but stress levels. Yeah,
and you did some of this successfully in the past. You changed up the sidewalks, you allowed for more bike lanes, you brought in farmers markets. What are some of the other things that you're going to be changing in these beach towns?
See, that alone is huge. Do you know that if you make a city more walkable or bikeable, that the activity level goes up by about 40%, and you don't have to have expensive gym memberships. You don't need to nudge people into doing marathons or triathlons, just making it easy to work and walk. Another thing we do, we actually take a cue from Okinawa, and we cluster people in groups of 5. Do you know that if your 3 best friends are obese, there's a 150% better chance that you'll be overweight? So by helping people expand their social circle with the right group of people and setting it up so that they'll be friends for the long term, we're putting in place a long-term strategy where people will more likely be healthy.
Yeah, in some of your tips in Blue Zones, you say you got to move naturally, you got to have the right outlook, eat wisely, and belong to the right tribe, as you put it. So these are sort of your circle of friends that are helping ease stress, but also nudging you into better habits. How do you change sort of long-held friendships or groups, or just the ways that people are used to living when you go into these places?
Yes, you don't want to tell people to dump their old friends, but
right.
Everybody lives on a continuum of, there are people who don't want to change their health habits at all, and then there are people who are running marathons and triathlons. Most of Americans, the 60%, 65% who are overweight and obese, if you show them an easy way to do it, they'll come aboard. And our program endeavors to cluster those people who want to change their behaviors and habits and form friendships among them. Because friends tend to be long-term adventures. That's why we like it better than diets. Most people who go on an exercise program, they don't stay on it very long. The average American burns fewer than 100 calories a day engaged in exercise. So setting it up so it's easy for them to walk, easy for them to hang out with people who are active, we think that's a better strategy.
Wow.
A silver buckshot instead of a silver bullet.
That's right, because you have to burn 3,500 calories, right, to lose a pound. So if you're only doing 100 a day, you got a long way to go. Well, we'll see how these 3 cities do. We're going to bring you back on and chart some of the progress, because this is a really neat initiative. Dan, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Great to see you.
You too, Dan Buettner with Blue Zones and Thrive and this new Vitality Project.